So Drenda has or had a personal shopper that was paid $1,000 a month to do all her shopping, and it was a
How much
1099
thousands
pay.
a month?
She was paid individually for her services $1,000 a month,
Okay.
and then she could come and she would put in a request, which, like I said, we're not allowed to say no to, for her cash card to be loaded for X amount of dollars, anywhere from 3 to, I think, 1 month she asked for $10,000. I think that was probably Women's Conference Month, to go
Yep.
shopping for Drenda. And you would hear on the weekends Drenda up there talking about how she loves thrift store shopping and she's just so frugal. But then in the middle of the week, I'd have a request from her personal shopper for $5,000. And the receipts would come back from Saks Fifth Avenue, Nordstrom.
Yep.
I'm not very fashion savvy, so I don't know all the names, but they were big brand names, spending whatever they wanted.
Not Dillard's, but the other one that's at Polaris, like Von Mar.
Yes, Von Mar. Yeah, in thousands of dollars a month, and
Wow.
so that was definitely one of the.
Is this coming out of like the tithe that people would give to the church?
Absolutely.
You know, to help the poor, all the things that the Bible talks about.
I don't recall any donation ever being made to help the poor or help. I mean, I remember tithes being given to like Copeland Ministries and like big ministries, but never the little guy, never that I can recall local things.
Okay.
I ran across in my notes the other day a check for $2,000 that Gary had written to somebody individually, that I thought was strange and somewhat inappropriate. Whenever they had a check request that they didn't want me to question them about, Ron and Cindy Farber would play the second person, because you got to have one person to sign the request and the other person to sign the check. That can't be the same person. But they were a married couple that were right-hand persons to the pastors, and so they would play that second person for each other. And I'd come in the morning to find a check stub and the request on my desk to be filed, but they've already distributed it. So that would happen. Honorariums, like she said, to Kenneth Copeland Ministries. Kenneth Copeland was there once when I was there. I think his honorarium was $15,000, and then there was additional honorarium to KCM.
That's ministry. Not much. You know, Joni Lamb, her honorarium for being at a women's event, you might have heard or seen the show the other day, but it was $25,000 actually. I had said 20 on the show and I got corrected, I think, by Ohio for Freedom or someone. $25,000 for her, and then her two daughters and daughter-in-law each got $5,000 for virtually like showing up and, you know, participating a little, and pretty excessive you know, honorarium for that. But Susie Lamb actually just didn't feel right about it and she gave it back. So I wonder if that was deposited back.
Wow.
No, it wasn't. I would have seen it come back through.
You would have seen it. Somebody maybe signed the back of it and got that money. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, definitely same thing. You know, kids would get honorariums for speaking if they spoke at an event or something. The kids got our honorariums also. Other things that spending definitely went to, their business, Forward Financial Group, which is already somewhat of a tangled web because they tell people at the church to go for the business. They have the Fixing the Money thing, which is supposed to be part of the ministry, but it also refers people to the business. So, kind of a little screwy there.
Wasn't the Provision Conference actually produced by Forward Financial?
Yes. Supposedly they sponsor it, which I never saw any money
I never
from
saw them give money. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a mixed bag there. And then, so the business technically owns the airplane, but Gary has a small plane that he would also
And a
use.
private pilot. He has a pilot too.
Yes. And the pilot is paid by the church, and
Yep.
his expense reports are paid by the church.
Yep. And the fuel for the plane.
Fuel, the GPS, yeah, all the expenses for the plane paid by the church. So yeah, technically the business owns the plane, but the church is paying all of its expenses. Car registrations, I saw the church paying, but the plane in particular, there might be some sort of legitimate business expenses if they're going to speak somewhere that was part of the ministry or things like that. But I would very, very often see just trips down to their vacation home in Florida. We know where the home is.
Florida
I'm looking
vacation
at pilot
homes.
blogs.
Yes.
Two vacation homes. One in Florida, and then like the year before I got there, they bought a home in Nova Scotia. And of course, that's the blessing, working for them. But yeah, it just real screwy.
That's because they wrote on the bottom in the memo of their check that they needed a house in Nova Scotia, and they prayed over it, and God granted it, because that's how God works.
I can hear the dripping sarcasm, and I think what everyone's waking up to is the fact that some of these celebrity churches, what ends up happening is that you've got sort of these charismatic leaders, be it Drenda or Gary. I mean, Drenda's just all out there, but all of a sudden their church, other whistleblowers have said, like every home group, the meetings, everything is being used as a way to get more people tied into the multi-level marketing schemes that are actually coinciding with the church. And then all of a sudden they're super rich. And we had dear friends on from Faith Life Church who were going through a hard time after giving for many years, giving a lot of money, and only to find out that when they literally really needed just $700 on a tough month, they were, no, we can't do that. And then they plowed a whole bunch of money into something else that didn't seem as desperate.